part one of our discussion with Ian Whitelaw, the distinguished piper and teacher, talked about his relationship with the great Pembroke master Andrew Wright, and what led up to the 80-year-old Wright's 14-day visit to the University of California, Riverside in May 2016. In part two, Whitelaw looks back on what the visit meant to Wright and some of his greatest memories of that time. We started by asking him about what happened after Wright returned to Scotland.
Yeah, when he went home, he probably called me every day for a month. Hello, Ian, how you doing? How's your class? Very good. And and he was just you could just tell he was him having the opportunity to just be himself and talk about stuff that was important to him. Remember the tune that he was talking about was Flame of Wrath, and he called it Flame of Wrath. And some of the kids came to me and said, "Well, what's Roth? I thought it's Wrath." I said, "Well, it's the way he pronounces it. It's okay. Don't worry about it." He was always, when he would exaggerate something, when he'd say something that he didn't really like, he would always over dramatize it and over exaggerate it. Like, instead of, if a person was playing kind of square, he make some joke about it. D D D D D D. He did that in the class, and it's just a priceless moment. And if anybody was to who knew him would see him being completely himself for the class, I just think he got as much from them as we all got from him.
So, what do you think, if you could encapsulate it, briefly, what do you think Andrew's greatest contributions to piping are?
I think more than anyone, I think he had a clear sense of what the sort of majestic nature of P-rock music. I think he helped it evolve. I've made this comment several times before, other places, but music is supposed to evolve. Music that's from the 60s and the 70s, whether it's bagpipes or the violin or rock and roll, it's not the same as it is now. And there's always great comparisons. Well, what would such and such have done? Well, it's not really about that. It's about what can we do to revere this music and respect it, and yet not be intimidated by it, and just be able to play it in a way that it might change someone's life, and it might change someone's perspective of what it is. For myself, the most fun I ever had was playing in a competition and coming off and have somebody come up to me and say, "I have no idea what you just played or what that was, but I just wanted to let you know that it helped me grieve, and I hadn't been able to cry until today. And I think listening to your music helped me get there." Well, I think Andrew had that ability to bring that out. And he told me that his biggest regret as the president of the Pembroke Society was that he didn't rewrite the music for the Metro Donald of Lagan, because he never thought that it was written down correctly. And I remember he sent me the music over, and I couldn't quite figure out how it was supposed to go until he went through it with me. But Donald of Lagan it's an easy tune. What completely changed my perspective of a simple tune like Donald of Lagan. Well, I don't know anybody else that sort of had the wherewithal or the spirit or the energetic stream that he had. His ability to tune a bagpipe and to play it in such a way that just reflected, this is beautiful music, and it's probably not supposed to be played in competitive arenas the way it is, in order to be fully appreciated. And he was always trying to figure out a way to get the history and the sort of magic of the music into the mainstream. he produced a series of, recordings that he recorded in Northern Ireland called Whispers of the Past. Well, we were teaching together at the school back in the day, and he had this recording, and he said, would you mind listening to this? It was this, the master recording. Would you give it a listen? And let me know what you think. Well, I was, it was a real honor to have him ask me what I thought. And there was a few things that I wasn't sure about. And he told me that the conditions with, like, he had to sit down in a chair when he recorded all that, because it was an old bomb shelter in Belfast. I think they call it the Cave. And he was sitting in a chair, and he was all ready to go, and he didn't want to redo it because of some technical issues or whatever it was. But he ended up making a couple of adjustments, and so the finished product is pretty amazing. He really wanted to bring in other instruments with the pipe. He loved to sing, so he always talked about the vocables. And the one last thing that I wanted to give him credit for was he taught me and the other people that have learned from him. He taught us about keeping time, and rather than P-Rock just being some randomized string of notes that you sort of feel, it's not. It has a structure, and it has a beat, and it has a rhythm, and it can only be defined by a time signature. And for me, that's always been the thing that he unlocked in the bagpipe world.
Anything else that you particularly want to add?
He definitely was a unique man. He was incredibly generous. He was incredibly funny. I remember being in Inverness, sitting in the auditorium watching the clasp, and when these pipers would come on, and they blow up, and you look at the judges, and they look like they wanted to be anywhere but there in the moment. And then he'd come on, and they'd lean forward, and they clasp their hands together, and they just sit there and listen, because I think they knew that they were in the midst of something amazing, and it had nothing to do with prizes or whatever. It was all about what it sounded like, and what his music, the effect that the music was having on those that could hear it. Thank you for drawing attention to him.
Stay tuned to Pipes Drums for part 3 of Andrew Wright's extraordinary 2 weeks in Southern California, with special videos and written content.